Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of The Crew Car, where myself, James Battey, is joined by Devlin Cathey from All Safe Yachting. So, Dev, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, James, and thanks very much for having me on.
Oh, don't be daft. My absolute pleasure. So, Devlin, just tell us a bit about yourself, how you find yourself, running this company, All Safe Yachting, how you got there, where you started, and just, a bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as the yachting industry goes, I joined in 2013 as a chef. I've been a chef for over 20 years. And, I did the whole thing, worked on boats from 95 feet up to 315 feet. And, it's been an incredible journey. I love the industry. I love everything that it gives us. All the crew, it's an incredible industry that's very unique. And, obviously along the way, I noticed it's high pressure. I went through a few personal things while I was on the boat. I actually left my ex-wife now, but at the time, my wife, I left her with our second child, my son, and he was like 2.5 days old when I had to fly out for a boss trip. And, it's the kind of things that, little added things, and nobody posts about that. They post all the cool, fun jet skiing.
You get the nice
scuba diving photos.
You don't get the reality of it.
So, so what, there's something I don't really, so I knew Paige Bell. That was something that was very personal to me. I actually, strangely enough, came across the first time she sent me her resume in 2023 the other day, and it's jarring. And that scenario just set up the chain of events that, I wanted to make sure there was more systems in place to protect crew.
Right.
And, what started as let's develop a panic button, some kind of safety infrastructure, it led to reporting avenues where crew can confidently and anonymously report issues on board with, proper escalation protocols, to the mental health side of it. So I've included a subscription to, it's a clinically designed, proven model of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's 24/7, and the crew can access it from anywhere in the world, anywhere on the boat, whatever time of the day. And it just gives a lot of feedback and guidance on any kind of tools and techniques to go through, most sorts of trauma, most sorts of, incidents on board. It'll guide you through, confrontations with different personalities. It's a wonderful tool that I use myself. Yeah. And so, the whole package together is it's all geared towards crew safety and crew wellness. But on board every day, it has hours of rest. So you can record them yourself, clock in, clock out, gives your location, date, time, the whole process. So it's engineered to structure a more beneficial platform for the crew, but it also gives management oversight. Captains can monitor, the crew hours. There's confidential private analytics that break down what the crew's going for. It doesn't ever disclose any of the private information, but it will say that, 40% of your crew are talking about fatigue, or 60% are talking about loneliness, or, it just gives us information that captains and management can use to go, hey, let's get the crew together and give them a day out on the boat, or maybe let's take a few days off and everybody reset. So it gives background information that can really benefit the management and captains as well.
Well, I think this is kind of hit the nail on the head. We do it for engines, we do it for generators, we do all that preventative maintenance. You don't want to be on a yacht where you only do maintenance when something breaks. How about what you're doing now is you're doing that for crew. So we prevent it, we learn, we get the early warning signs. And I think that in itself is critical. Like, let's stop trying to fix the problem after it's happened. Let's prevent it from becoming a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, the crew, that's what it is. It's a preventative measure. Having the panic buttons and the reporting station, that is going to be, to me, if you're on a boat where there are maybe some people that act, untoward on occasion, if they know that there's now a reporting structure on board that can lead to escalation, I want them to not act untoward. It's not, I don't want it on boats to catch people. I just don't want these things to happen. And the more systems we have in place to avoid people doing things that, currently, let's be honest, are normally hidden or private, Yeah. And this is something that really...
Yachting's always had that image to me of somewhat being a little bit like the Foreign Legion. there's a lot of people running away from something else that's happened in their past. And that look, we all have problems. And that's not to say that that's not something to give someone a fresh start, but it depends whether you bring those problems maybe from your past into the industry. And I think, unfortunately, there are quite a few times when that has happened, where you have people who maybe have problems and they haven't dealt with the problem. What they've done is they just changed industry because they can no longer find employment in the industry they used to be in due to those problems. And now they come into yachting because it is unregulated when it comes to crew and welfare and everything else. And, you know, I think from what you're telling me about the systems that you've developed and are putting in place, I think that from my perspective, with what I've created and what we're developing, that's what we're trying to do, is just elevate the industry as a whole. And the only way we can do that is by creating transparency and accountability. And what you're doing and what you're 100%. Saying is exactly that. You don't want anyone to ever have to hit a panic button, because you just want the idea that panic button's there to be enough to make someone think, I'd like to behave in that way, but I'm not going because the repercussion is ugly. So you have that situation, and that in itself, now there's accountability, hopefully, it becomes a deterrent in itself to be like, shit, okay, well, we've got this system in place that actually my behaviour doing that has ramifications to it.
Exactly. And the great thing with the mental health assistant is that if somebody is feeling a little bit off, or, you know, this will hopefully, you know, prevent anything to escalate in that department too, because it gives you, you know, you can lie in bed at night and just ask it questions, and it actually, because of the training of the clinicians behind the system, it will guide you in a way, and it'll pick up on keywords, and it'll pick up on tone, and it'll guide you in a way to say, hey, I think you should try this breathing exercise, or this is the kind of movie you should watch right now, or this is a good book for you to read to understand more about the way you're feeling. But it also has, you know, escalating keywords. If you start talking about certain things that are, you know, are a little bit more dangerous, it will escalate and send alerts that say this person's talking about harming themselves or somebody else. But it's also included in the system, isn't his SOS button.
Yeah, and that's a duty of care. And we have that. I mean, I have that as a captain. You have a duty of care to your crew and the people on board, and that is a responsibility. And if people aren't feeling at their best, it's critical to know that, and that's it. To have that feedback is imperative. And I think that in yachting as a whole, you know, accountability across the board, be it crew, management companies, suppliers, all of this, when you have that accountability, it makes people go, all right, well, you know, I can't behave in that way, or I've said this is going to be the cost that I'm going to do it for, and I'm going to stick to that, and these are the timings I'm going to stick to. And suddenly, by creating that accountability, suddenly everyone starts hopefully delivering a better service, and the people who are delivering that service flourish, and the ones who aren't, who've been getting away with it for a number of years, suddenly, you know, they fall by the wayside. And I think this is what we want. This is what we want in the industry. Everyone wants the industry to get better. And when you create an industry that has that system in place where people are accountable and the system's transparent, people feel protected, and then you have a career. So people are then attracted to it because it is an amazing career, but it's very much what yacht you're on. It depends on what yacht you're on, because some yachts you have amazing time and you're supported and your growth is pushed and you're like, they want you to succeed, whereas others, they don't.
Yeah.
And when you've got those two opposing sides, you know, if you have a bad experience, there's a very good chance you're going to leave the industry and never come back, quite rightly so. But when you have a good experience, you continue to push forwards, and that's what we want for everyone, the large percentage of the industry. Unfortunately, there's always going to be a small pocket of negative, but systems
that's
like
in any industry. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, in any industry, you're going to have problems, and it's, you know, the way I look at it is I'm not putting the system on board to catch anybody out. I just want to make sure that less or no incidents actually happen. And it's, you know, someone said to me the other day in a meeting, which I loved, he's like, the yachting industry is finally growing up. And I love that because it's actually true. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's never been under the microscope that it is now. And to have a system on place, whether it's ours or another, that helps the industry mature in the way that we retain the professional people that want to be protected and want to feel safe and want to feel heard, then, then we'll end up with a much higher standard of crew as well. And the captains will be happy, owners will be happy, crew will be happy, because everything's being run smoothly. Everybody feels seen and heard, and the boats are kept in better order. And, it's a knock-on effect.
It is, and it's exactly that. It's that accountability where standards are created and adhered to. And by creating those standards and adhering to those standards, you suddenly attract a better kind of crew member, because you're showing them that this is a career and you are protected and you are supported and you are pushed on in your career, as opposed to stunted and told, like, no, you don't do that, you don't do that. Right, we should be encouraging people, because by doing that, you create growth and you attract better people. And I think
that's what we want.
Yeah, we want that within the industry, because then a happy crew, like we come back to the simple science, happy crew, happy boat, happy owner. It's really that simple.
It is.
So yeah, it's wicked. So I mean,
the other side of it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something that I mentioned it once before to somebody in a meeting, and I've been saying it ever since. Is, I have a young daughter now. She's 11, so in 7 years she'll be joining the industry, hopefully. And I used to think, like, well, how can I train her and, mold her to understand that these are the incidents that happen on boats and she needs to avoid them, or, just accept them. And the slogan that I came up with was, like, I don't want to change my daughter for the industry. I want to change the industry for my daughter. And that's kind of the policy I've taken in, so that I'm happy with my daughter, which means that I'd be happy with other people's daughters, going into the industry and having these levels of protection and safety that should have been in place, honestly, a long time ago. But that's where, that's the kind of goals I'm looking for.
It's weird you say that, because, I mean, I'm the same, and I've said it on previous conversations that I've had with people. My son's 14, going to be 15 in June, and he's showing an interest, and you find yourself going, not at the moment, not a chance, because it's because of that lack of transparency and accountability. And unfortunately, when you have those pockets, you create exploitation, and then people go to town on it. And 90% of the industry wants this. The only people who kick back are the ones that have been profiting from a broken system. That's it. 100%. I mean, I always come back to that, and it's amazing talking to people like yourself that they're creating these systems in order to assist the industry in getting better, because, I mean,
I appreciate you doing things like this to bring it to attention, letting people see what we're doing. And I'm all about collaboration over competition. So the more people that can do anything to improve the system,
this is it.
And improve the situation.
You look at the best businesses in the world, you have a cooperative, because everyone has got their own angle. And this is what I'm saying with YWC. We're the ecosystem, the infrastructure. I don't profess to be a mental health professional, a financial professional, any of those. But what I am planning on doing is putting all those people in one space and going, here, you've got access to them now. This is where they are. And by doing that, you lift the industry, because you're giving people education in how to get the most out of it, which is, as we know, in anything, if you're educated in something, you have a much better chance to succeed.
100%. Yeah, I love that.
So, no, it's wicked. I'm really chuffed that you're doing it. So, I mean, how many people have you got within sort of All Safe Yachting using the system currently? Is it sort of in a trial, development? What kind of phase is it?
The trial period has actually just advanced into being on board. So we were talking about getting it on a few boats, and then I just had 4 boats down in the Bahamas get the system immediately. And then we're in talks with some big players, some tourism authorities, like whole countries that want to implement this as a system. So the industry's ready. It's been waiting for something like this, I think, for a long time. And, we're ready too.
Whose doorstep does it fall at? Because, I mean, whose doorstep does this fall at? Does this fall at management companies? Is this something that essentially, because you have fleets, I mean, over 500 gross tons, you have to be managed. So should it be that we are going to management companies and going, this should be textbook. This is how it should be. you implement this
So
system on board, much like we have work rest or whatever.
We're focusing on captains and yacht managers. That's our main angle, because yacht managers, they can manage whole fleets from one dashboard, and then they'll get all the analytics, all the reports, all the alerts, and then they can also get that information and put it together and say, the major alert from all 10 boats is, sexual harassment or, bullying or whatever it is, and they can use that. It's all confidential analytics, but it gives them a breakdown of what's going on their boats, and it gives them the opportunity to address these things and, make sure the crew are being seen and heard and understood, and the very least helped a little bit. And then obviously every captain would want this for the crew, because it not only protects them while they're on board, if they're on shore leave or out for the night, they have this app on their phone that is instant alerts, 24/7 live monitoring station. And the best thing about it is that it actually alerts all the crew on the boats as well at the same time. So if something happens, the likelihood of a crew member being nearby is much higher than police being able to get there quickly. So there'll be somebody on the scene to address and help. And then obviously that still goes off to the escalation to the local authorities. So this is something that we cannot see why captains wouldn't want this for their crew, especially traveling all around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. We have, there's going to be immediate access to alerts and systems. So it's something
that's
we want
to
all boats to have
huge.
all crew. And of course, having the daily check-in system, making sure their hours of rest are recorded, and it records your location as well. So where you checked in, where you checked out, date, time, all, geotag, time stamped, date stamped. It's built by yachties for the yachting industry. Yeah. It's great for captains. It's great for management companies and oversight, but it's amazing for the crew. And that's where it started. It's for the crew safety. And we've just made sure that it works for the captains and owners too.
That's epic, though, because you often hear of boats where there's one person in that crew, but everyone else is like a revolving door. But from an owner's perspective, they must twig, well, hang on, that person stays, but everyone else is leaving. But without that kind of core data of people actually going, he's abusive, she's abusive, or whatever it is, you haven't really got
6 reports in the last month by different people.
Yeah. Right. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, the thing is, the captains and the management companies will still manage their own dashboard, so they have control. It's not like we're sending it out to an outside reporting body. Not as yet, because there's no mandatory. But they have control over their information, and they can make sure that there's escalation, everything's addressed. But it stays on the system. There's no deleting records or deleting alert. It stays on the system, so everybody's covered. There's no, he said, she said anymore.
You can't have someone phoning up a management going, hey, look, I know she's written this, but, she made a mistake. Can you just delete it from me? Yeah.
No, there's no way of doing that.
Amazing.
Exactly. They're talking shit. That didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. All 11 of them have made that up.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, nice one. Definitely. You weren't really hammered naked in the crew mess, revealing yourself to everyone.
Doing a helicopter.
It's so effective. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, we joke and we laugh, but you kind of feel like you have to, because unfortunately, the reality is that it happens in our industry.
It does. And
also often there are no repercussions for it.
Yeah, we don't get to go home at the end of the shift. We have to go into confined spaces with the same people. We're just under high pressure, very long hours, and things are going to happen. There's no doubt about it. And right now, there's no way of making sure these issues are addressed. There's no way of making sure they're even recorded. So this is just an incredible system to get everybody aligned and get everybody on the same page and make sure that these things stop happening as frequently as they do. That's the goal.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll put, obviously, everything to do with your business in the comments section so that everyone can get on and have a look and learn more. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.